My name is Amanda Oldervik and I'll be doing the hand washing lab today. So as you can see over here, I already organized everything for what I need. So I have the no wash container with 2 test tubes and a pipette, the quick wash with 2 tubes and a pipette, and then the good wash with 2 tubes, a pipette, and then this scrubber. And then I have the beaker of tap water, the glow germs that I have already shaken, a few paper towels, the ultraviolet light, and a notepad to keep track of how many spots that I see during the investigation. So right now I'm going to apply a quarter-sized amount of glow germ on the palm of my hand and rub my hands together. Okay. And I'm going to make sure to go onto the back of my hands and between my fingers. Next I'm going to take a transfer pipette and transfer 3 milliliters of tap water from the beaker to a test tube. I'm going to do it with both of them. Making sure this is all rubbed in. Then 1, 2, 3. Next I'm going to turn off the light, and using the ultraviolet light I'm going to examine my work area to be sure to check my lab coat and all the surrounding areas that I am touching. You'll be able to tell on what's contaminated when I use ultraviolet light because little specks are going to pop up. And then I'm going to record the number of little spots that are on the test tube, my hands, my work area, and the pipette. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the lights. I'm going to grab ultraviolet light. I'm going to look at my hands. And you can see where it's all smeared between my nails, definitely under my nails, all over my fingers. I'm going to check my gown. There's a few spots, but not super contaminated because I keep this in a clean area. And then we're going to look at my other hand. And you can see where it's all spread out between my nails, my knuckles, definitely between my fingers, and all the way around. There's a ton of spots all over. Now I'm going to go over here and look at my test tubes. There's fingerprints and a ton of dots all over. And the second one, a lot of fingerprints and multiple dots all over the test tube. And then with the pipette, if you look here, it has my fingerprints all over the top of it where I was touching it, and it's also all over the box. So I'm going to mark about 18 dots all together, even though it was kind of hard to see because they were all smears. That just shows that there's a ton of contamination within germs of no washing. So for this part, for the quick wash, I'm going to quickly wash my hands with soap and rinse, just as you would normally do. So I have soap right here. Let the water run. Hands as usual. Okay. So I'm not sure if I dry my hands, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do so. Just blotting them. I'm gonna throw it away. Now I'm gonna do the same thing with the next, which is the quick wash, because I just quickly wash my hands. So I'm gonna take the pipette and measure 3 milliliters into each test tube. 1, 2, 3, and then another 3 into the next test tube. 1, 2, 3. And I'm gonna put this back into the boxes, and then again turn off the lights and count how many spots I see with the ultraviolet light. So first we're gonna do my hands. There's a lot of smearage towards my wrist, which shows that I didn't wash close enough to my wrist. I would say there's about 5 dots just on the back of my hand that's not in the smears. And then in my fingers, you can see all the germ that would be around my fingernails. There's a lot of spots on the back of my hand and in between my fingers, which I didn't really wash very well. And of course, underneath my fingernails, there's a lot. And on the palm of my hand, I don't see 3 dots on my pinky. Like 4 on my ring finger. About 5 on my fingertip of my middle finger. 3 on my pointer. And I would say none on my thumb. There's just a lot of smearage on the left hand. So for that, we have about 15 already. And then on the palm of this hand, it goes all the way up to my wrist, which I didn't wash very well. And then underneath my fingertips, there's a ton. On my pinky, there's about 5 dots. And then in between my fingers, there's just a lot of smears. Wouldn't say that are dots. Not a whole, there's a couple dots on my ring finger. And more dots like between the crevices of my middle finger. Kind of hard to count. And then all over my pointer finger, there's just more smears in between each like fingerprint line. And on the back of my hand up to my wrist, there's a lot of smearage. Wouldn't count as dots. And then my fingernails all have it still. And then multiple dots on every finger. Okay, and then we're gonna go over here to test tube. See how many dots. There's about 2, 3. It's about 5 dots on that first test tube. And about 3 dots on the second one. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I would say 7 spots on the pipette. And turn the light back on. So I'm going to write down probably 25 spots just because it was still a lot of smearage that I'm unable to count how many dots would be there altogether. Can you pause it? What?
I can't pause pause it.
Just stop it. So for right now, we're gonna start with part 3, which is doing the full hand washing. So you do it like usual, where you're rinsing your hands. You can go all the way up your wrist for these. Then you take a paper towel. Use it to pump the soap. And you're going to continue to wash your hands. I know that the proper way to wash your hands is for 20 seconds. You do all the way up the wrist, the palms, and you usually scratch your nails on your palms. And then the back of your hands. You're going to make sure you aim them down, because if you don't, then you're going to spread more germs all around. Make sure to go between your fingers. And then for the experiment, it wants us to use this brush to get underneath our nails. I'm going to rinse it and go underneath our nails. Make sure to do it in the sink so it's not splashing around all the germs that are underneath your nails. I'm going to lay this on a paper towel. Okay. And now I'm going to rinse. Make sure to get your wrists inside of your palms. Backs of your hands, in between your fingers, and underneath your nails. I'm going to grab another paper towel, turn off the faucet, and then dry my hands. I'm going to get another paper towel. Dry my wrists, palms, back of my hands, in between my fingers. My nails. Put this stuff away. Now I'm going to turn off the light and we're going to check my... Oh, actually, Can you pause it for a second?
I don't know.
Just stop it. Okay, so now I am going to turn off the lights and make sure that I did a good job at washing my hands to make sure that all the glow gel is gone. So I'm going to use the ultraviolet light over here. And there's no residue on my wrists. No residue on my hands. All looks pretty good. No spots anywhere. Go over here to this wrist. No spots. Okay, looks good. So I'm going to turn the light back on, and now I'm going to reapply the germ gel again. I'm going to make sure to shake it up before, and then add a quarter size, and spread that all over my hands. And then for this step, I'm going to do the good hand washing, so exactly what I did in the last clip, and we're going to test how well good hand washing actually gets rid of the germs. I'm going to make sure I get it underneath my nails, to my wrists. Okay. So now I'm going to, it's all onto my hand. I'm going to take a paper towel, turn on the faucet. I'm going to fold the paper towel, leave it there, rinse my hands up to the wrists, use the paper towel, pump the soap, throw away the paper towel, now wash. Bring it to the wrist, make sure your hands are down so you're not splashing the germs everywhere. Between your fingers, backs of your hands, and then I'm going to take the brush again and get underneath my fingernails. And in the crevices on top of the fingernails. I'm going to put that back. I'm going to rinse my hands. Take a paper towel to turn off the faucet. And then another paper towel to dry my hands off. Going between my fingers, back of my hand, my wrist. Between my fingers, my nails. And throwing it away. So now I'm going to turn off the light. Oh, actually, I'm going to use the pipette and transfer 3 milliliters of water into each test tube. 1, 2, 3. Put that back. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put the test tubes back and the pipette. And now I'm going to turn off the light and we're going to examine my hands and my work area to see how many germs I spread with the good hand washing hygiene. So there's none on my wrists. In my palm, there's none. My thumb, I don't see any. Middle finger, none. Pointer finger, none. Ring finger, none. And my pinky, I see 1. The back of my hand, don't see any on the back of my hand. There's 1 on the back of my thumb. There's 1 right there. So I think that's up to 4 now. None on my middle, none on my ring, and none on my pinky. Now we're gonna go to the right hand. There's 1 on my thumb, none on my wrist, none on my palm, 1 on my pointer, so now we're at 6, 1 on my middle, 7, none on my ring. Okay, none on there. Back of my hand, large spot there. That's 9, I believe. There's 10. Okay, and I believe that's it. So that's it for my hands. There's 10 on my hands. Now for my test tubes. I don't see any on the first test tube. The next test tube, I see 1, so we're at 11. And then for my pipette, I don't see any. Okay. Okay, so before I got cut off, I was saying that the Good Wash left 11 dots on my hands and the test tubes. So now I'm just going to explain the difference between the No Wash, Quick Wash, and Good Wash. So in the No Wash, I put 18 dots down just on the test tubes and the pipette just because I had a lot of smearage on my hands and there's really no way I could count how many dots there were. I would say there was a lot, more than any other washing technique that we did in this experiment. Quick Wash, altogether there were about 25 dots that I could visibly see, but there was still a lot of streakage, but it was definitely a lot better than the No Wash. And the Good Wash, there were only 11 dots altogether with no smearage, so it was a lot easier to determine which technique was better. So in the end, the Good Wash definitely gets rid of all the germs if you take the right precautions of using paper towel to turn on the faucet, paper towel to pump the soap, and making sure to scrub for the full 20 seconds that's recommended, and getting underneath your fingernails with a brush or your palms and such. And that is the end of the experiment. Thank you.